Hi everybody. You might be wondering why I'm upside down right now. Well, it's quite simple. It was the most random, nonsensical way I could think of to start this review. So I did it without thinking it through or giving a second's consideration for how it would affect the rest of the video, in the vain, desperate hope that someone with incredibly low standards for their entertainment and no understanding of how comedy works might possibly find it funny. Does that make sense? Not even a little bit. But if Lower Decks can pull that crap for an entire episode, why can't I? Enjoy the review. So this episode begins without a captain's log or an ensign's log or whatever to exposit information on what we're about to watch like Star Trek episodes normally do, and there's a reason for that. Because the purpose of those show opening logs is to explain what the hell is going on, and this entire episode basically requires everybody, including the audience as it turns out, to have no goddamn clue what's going on, because if they did, then the episode couldn't happen. Now, on a well-written show, this could actually be an interesting storytelling device. But that's not the kind of show we're watching, so it just ends up being a giant pain in the ass. We start with the Lower Decks crew getting locked up in some kind of alien prison with no idea where they are, why they're there, or how they got there. They're so hopelessly confused that Boimler begs anyone who might be listening to just give them some badly needed context and receives no answer at all. Get used to that. The floor starts moving and they're raised up into some kind of amphitheater or trial type thing where the bridge crew is suspended in a beam of light, and there's this angry alien dude talking about how they've been brought here to speak the truth they witnessed about the senior officers. The problem is, they have no idea what they were supposed to have witnessed. Then they all have to take turns speaking into the sacred horn thing, and angry alien dude is like, "Tell us what happened on this date." What follows is a series of flashbacks retelling the events of the other day from everyone's perspective. Mariner's version begins with the four of them in the repair bay doing maintenance on a shuttlecraft. All four of them. Even though Rutherford is the only one of these assholes who's actually an engineer and the only one whose job this should be. Beats the hell out of me how Tendi, the medical doctor, wound up with this assignment. Tendi excuses herself to go take a piss and discovers that outside the repair bay the ship is at red alert. And they didn't hear the red alert because Rutherford adjusted the speakers in the repair bay so they would be extra loud, but somehow turned them off instead. That's gonna be an annoying plot hole, as we'll find out in a few minutes, but this episode is not concerned with actually explaining anything that happens, so it's one of those things that we just have to live with if we want to get through the episode without punching something. Mariner and Boimler had bridge duty that day, so they race to their stations and sneak in without anyone realizing they were gone. Don't ask me how. The captain beams in from another ship, and stop me if you've heard this one, she has no idea what's going on. The aliens she was meeting with gave her a map of the neutral zone, she thanked them, expressed her gratitude, and then they just randomly went berserk, and now they're demanding the map back. Does that make sense? No. Does it get explained? No. Does it get resolved? No. In fact, they're gonna cut away from this in a minute without even showing how the Cerritos got out of this predicament. Because introducing big plot points without ever following up on them is the Lower Decks way. The captain wants to know what Mariner thinks. Mariner thinks the captain knows exactly how to handle this. And because she's super amazing badass Mariner, the captain accepts this, lets her off the hook for her bullshit response, and asks Boimler for options. Boimler thinks they should do what the captain wants to do, and then she'd choose him out because she didn't ask him to kiss her ass, even though that's exactly what Mariner just did, and when she did it, it was fine. So he tries to bullshit some ideas off the cuff, which just makes everyone think he's a jackass, while the most simple and logical suggestion is staring him right in the face. Obviously, there's been some kind of cultural misunderstanding here, so why don't you just give them the damn map back like they asked until you figure out where your wires got crossed? It's easily the course of action that makes the most sense, so naturally, it never occurs to any of them. Speaking of crossed wires, the captain orders Mariner to send the aliens a message, which apparently is code for, invite the aliens to dinner, but which Mariner interprets as start shooting at them. The aliens get pissed off, they return fire, and then, just like that, the flashback is over. If you're wondering how they survived that firefight with the hostile alien ship, T.S. Back in the present, angry alien dude doesn't like Mariner's story. He wants to know about the map, but she doesn't know anything about a map. So he suspends her over a tank of deadly electric eels like some cheesy old-school James Bond villain. I guess this is supposed to ratchet up the tension or something, but all it succeeds in doing is making me wish I was watching a James Bond movie right now instead of this crap. Boimler insists that Mariner is telling the truth. He was there. They didn't see any map. Which is bullshit because we just watched the flashback where Boimler and Mariner were on the bridge where the captain beamed in carrying a fucking map and then talked to the aliens about her being in possession of the fucking map. So what's going on? Are they lying? Or did the writers just not proofread the script before they sent it off to the animators? Oh, who the hell cares? So Rutherford's up next, and he's confident that he can crush this because his cyborg implant gives him perfect memory. So he has a perfect memory, and yet he couldn't remember how to adjust the red alert speakers. Okay. Rutherford's flashback begins with him just doing his work and going about his day when the Bajoran security guy and some dude with a mustache run in and ask him if his cyborg implant has Romulan flight manuals and repair information because they've got a mission which requires them to have that stuff on hand and they just realized that they don't. Rutherford can access that stuff, but he'd have to update his firmware first or whatever, but he likes to do that while he's sleeping because downloading those updates messes with his head. But they're like, F that noise, do it now! So he does. And then he blacks out right when they start talking about how if this mission goes awry, Rutherford could potentially get denubulin flesh-eating bacteria on his junk. Because that's not relevant information that Rutherford should be awake for. So Rutherford reboots, and suddenly the three of them are in a shuttle and they've stolen the clothes of some unconscious naked Vulcans on the floor. Rutherford has no idea how this happened. Apparently, his cyborg implant is like a Guyver unit. It's like the bio booster armor where, while it's rebooting and he's unconscious, the unit just takes over and controls his body like a meat puppet. That seems like a really major and important character trait that should be further explained, but really, it's just a half-baked excuse to do a bunch of random-ass scenes with loads of random-ass stuff happening that barely connect to each other and removing the obligation of the writers to actually explain any of it. Then Bajoran's security guy throws Rutherford out of the shuttle and he plummets thousands of feet to certain death. And I mean that, because before he blacked out again, he was already so close to the ground it was way past time that deploying his parachute would have saved him. But it turns out he's just fine. How did he survive the fall? Who cares? It's so unimportant they don't even bother telling us. He reboots again, and now they're in the middle of stealing a Romulan bird of prey. Then they're spotted by someone, so Bajoran security guy orders Rutherford to distract him with the Uhura fan dance from Star Trek V. Not out of left field whatsoever. Thankfully, Rutherford keeps his clothes on, though it does look like he's about to start twerking when he blacks out again and reboots in a spacesuit standing on the now cloaked stolen bird of prey in the middle of outer space. Mustache Guy is there too, and his suit is about to run out of oxygen. So Rutherford carries him to the shuttle where Bajoran security guy is waiting for them. Then Rutherford blacks out again, falls onto the controls, accidentally activates the warp drive, and sends the shuttle off to God knows where. Then Rutherford reboots yet again and finds himself at a Gorn wedding. I have no idea how that relates to anything else that's going on here, and the writers clearly didn't either, but they threw a dart at the idea board and it landed on Gorn wedding, so f*** it. The Gorn attack and try to eat Rutherford. He blacks out yet again, but reboots with the Gorn still trying to eat him. Rutherford has no way out of this, there's no help in sight, he appears to be facing certain doom, and that's when the flashback ends. How did he wind up at a Gorn wedding? How did he escape without getting eaten? Who the f*** knows? Our super awesome new storytelling device means we don't have to bother with silly details like that because it's all just totally random crap that doesn't matter. Angry alien dude is getting pissed off now. He wants to know more about the bird of prey, but Rutherford doesn't know anymore, so now he's suspended over the tank of electric eels too, and we move on to Tendy's flashback. And here's where things get really irritating, because Tendy's part of this involves her going on a classified mission, so in order to keep certain details classified, a lot of words are bleeped out, like characters' names and locations of things and stuff like that. But the show was already doing this whenever the characters would say a swear word, so now they're bleeping out all this other stuff on top of that, and it is annoying as Now, under normal circumstances, I actually think bleeping out swear words is kind of funny, but you have to do it in moderation. You overdo it and the charm wears off real fast. And in this case, they were doing it so much that I started getting confused because I kept missing important information I needed to understand what the hell was going on. Anyway, Tendy's cleaning the conference room when Ransom comes in with some dudes who all have digital pasties over their eyes for some reason, and he's carrying that map of the neutral zone which Boimler and Mariner had never seen, even though they totally did. And for reasons that were not entirely clear to me, partly because every other word was bleeped out, Ransom thinks Tendy is going on this top-secret mission with them. So they wind up on the stolen bird of prey, and they do this bit where Tendy tries to tell them that she's not actually supposed to be there, but she gets interrupted by some dude freaking out that they're getting scanned by a new Romulan ship, and then he keeps freaking out when new ships show up and scan them. The writers seem to think this bit is hysterical. It's not. It comes off like they had half an empty page to fill in the script, so they just copied and pasted the last line of dialogue they came up with about 5 times. So they beam down to Romulus. The rest of the team goes into a place to find a thing. They're pretty light on the details, while Tendy covers their 6. They come out seconds later carrying the thing and being shot at by Romulans, which they leave to Tendy. Tendy has no idea what to do, so she just beats the shit out of them. Yeah. As it happens, Tendy is an unstoppable ass-kicking machine in a fight. You may find that strange, seeing as how a couple episodes ago, Tendy was being chased by a homicidal hologram and didn't whip out those amazing fighting abilities then when they would have been incredibly useful, and all things considered, it is pretty f***ing strange. Apparently, this is just a thing Lower Decks likes to do. Have the characters be the biggest badasses you've ever seen, but only when the script says so. If it doesn't say so, they're So Angry Alien Dude has had it up to here with this shit, and I'm right there with him. He wants to know what was in the thing they stole, but Tendy doesn't know, so he dunks her, Rutherford, and Mariner in the electric eel tank. He says this can all stop if they just tell him what their bridge crew did, so it's up to Boimler to save everybody, which he does, by simply repeating the same goddamn thing the 4 of them have been saying since the episode started. We don't f***ing know anything! The senior officers don't tell us important shit! Sometimes they don't even know what the hell's going on! Like that time Q showed up and turned the bridge crew into a living chess set and made them fight to the death against anthropomorphic playing cards, and also there was a talking soccer ball there for some reason? Or that time Ransom's girlfriend was a vampire made of salt? Or that time the cat doctor got on the wrong ship by accident and it was filled with weird alternate universe versions of the Cerritos crew? Who the f*** knows what any of that shit was about? Not the characters, and certainly not the writers either! Angry Alien Dude thinks that's bullshit because they're Starfleet, dammit! They're the best of the best! He clearly has no idea what show he's on. So Boimler makes a big impassioned speech, again reiterating that they don't know what's going on, and this whole trial is a sham. But then Angry Alien Dude is like, whoa, wait a damn minute. You think this is a trial? So the lights come on, and it's not a trial. It's a party. Angry Alien Dude is throwing a party for the bridge crew for saving him. He was in that pod thing that Ransom's team rescued from the Romulans, and he wanted the Lower Decks clowns to tell the story of how awesome the senior officers were. So when he told Tendy that she was risking death by not telling him the whole story, his words not mine, that was part of the party. When he dunked Tendy, Rutherford, and Mariner in a tank of electric alien eels and set the tank to boil, that was part of the party. So they're all like, that doesn't make any f***ing sense! What was that shit with the eels all about? But the captain takes them out of there before they, and by extension we, can get answers to any of it. Because not explaining a single goddamn thing that happens in an episode is funny, right? Right? Afterward, the captain dresses them down for nearly getting themselves killed, but figures, well, you stood up for Starfleet to some scary aliens when you thought you were about to die, so we'll cut you a break. And she promises that the senior officers will have much more transparency in the future, so everyone will actually know what's happening from now on. So immediately, our heroes launch into a series of questions. Why did you let angry alien dude nearly kill us with electric eels? Why did we have to steal the bird of prey when we could have just borrowed it? Helpful things like that would clarify a number of issues everyone is having about the events of this episode. I'd like to add, why did the Lower Decks crew not know or remember how they wound up in that cell in the opening scene? And also, how in the holy hell did this episode ever make it off the drawing board in the first place? But just like with all the other questions, these too go unanswered, because remember, the theme of this episode is random stuff just happens and we don't have to explain shit. So the captain tells them nothing and kicks them out, and then Q shows up from out of nowhere and challenges them to a duel, but they're like, F that noise, go bug Picard, we're done with all this random batshit nonsense, episode over. What the hell was this? This entire episode felt like a collection of scenes that were cut from other episodes and then haphazardly slapped together to create a whole new episode on the cheap. That's why so many things are lacking context and why we don't get payoffs for lots of things that are set up. Like, how did the Cerritos get out of that firefight? And how did Rutherford survive getting nearly eaten by Gorn? And I bet the writers thought they were being so fucking clever, with the through line of the episode literally being nothing makes any goddamn sense. Because that way, they could just do whatever random crap they could think of and not have to worry about explaining anything because none of it really matters. Why did you think that would work? I can't believe I have to explain something so simple to professional TV writers, but if you do a thing, you have to explain the thing. Because if you don't, the audience will be confused, and being confused is not fun. Don't believe me? Just watch. I'll prove it. Now, I guarantee you have no idea what the hell just happened. Right now, you're probably thinking that made no sense whatsoever. It had nothing to do with anything else that happened in this video. It was the weirdest damn thing I've seen all week! Doesn't feel good, does it? Having no clue what you just watched. And yet, even with how confused you are right now, it was still more entertaining than this episode was! If there was one positive in this thing, it's that the Lower Decks characters themselves I thought were fine for the most part. But only because they were as frustrated and pissed off about nothing making sense in this situation as I was, so we were kind of in the same boat for a change. But if that's the best thing I can say about it, then something went very wrong here. This entire episode is predicated on the characters not knowing something that could be and should be easily explained, but isn't, for no other reason than if it was, then the episode would end about 18 minutes early. Any way you slice it, that is a piss-poor way to write a story. Wait, come to think of it, that's the same damn thing that happened in the last episode! That's it. I'm done with this one. Screw it. Screw the whole damn thing and let's get out of here. Leave a comment to help me with the algorithm. Ding the bell and follow me on Twitter to be notified about new videos. The link's down there. Hit the thumbs up. Share, subscribe. Make sure you're still subscribed. I'll be back with more soon. Peace out.